So this is a day I've been planning for like 4 months. I'm going to rebuild my system. I'm going to replace my old Pro Tools HD setup with a Motu interface. And this all started with the video of the single point of failure when my iLok broke. That was the moment I realized that I needed to change my system. I already needed to change my system because it's an old system and I can leave it running until it catches fire, or I can anticipate on it and build a new system which is ready for the future. And I've tested the Motu interfaces and I've decided to buy one. And I only need one to replace my current setup, because my current setup isn't as big as you might think. It's only 16 channels, 16 in, 16 out. And right now I'm going to replace the setup. And let me show you what the setup is. It's all contained in that rack. So the front of the rack is the patch panel, and the back of the rack are the interfaces. So behind here you can see my old interfaces, which are the 69, an PSX 100 and a Rosetta 800 interface. And on top here is the new Motu. I already did some test driving with it. And I'm now ready to convert the cables. And yeah, that does involve some soldering, because the Motu runs on jack and the Apogee runs on DB25. Doing such a conversion sounds simple and easy, but I really took some time to think about it and about a way to make it as smooth as possible. I right now have like 2 or 3 hours to do this, and then I need to go back to work again. And it's a transitional phase I will be in for the next 2 or 3 months until I also have a new DAW. So the transition right now is that I'm transitioning my hardware. I'm not transitioning my software. I'm very lucky that I'm running Pro Tools 9 HD, and 9 is the first Pro Tools version that supports third-party interfaces. It doesn't support them without latency, and to be honest, I can only run it over USB, which is not the best connection, but it will work. I tested it and it does work, but it does have some latency. It is, however, latency I can work around, so it isn't withholding me from anything I'm doing with my business. And that's the thing, I'm running a business, and I need to have this setup running for 5 or 6 days every week, 10 hours every day. It's a pretty mission critical system. So that's why it took me so long to start upgrading my system, because I really want to have it thought through. And right now I think I have it, but we'll see. I'll maybe run into some more problems. So with that being said, let's first start with taking everything apart and then building everything back up again. Yeah, should be fun. Let's first start by taking my patch panel apart, which is this one. And it's pretty simple, it's just screwed in, so it's a few screws over there, and then the whole patch panel should come out. Let me find a screwdriver. Yeah, I can also keep the patch panel in here, but it's not, because I only need to handle that side of it. But the thing is, I want it to be accessible, so let's just screw it out, and then I can access everything from both sides, which makes things a lot easier. So this is patch panel 1, which is actually an interesting one, because this one only is connected to one cable, so I can throw it back there. Yeah, let's do that. I just need to remember to put it back before I put back a lot of other things, and I cannot access it anymore. So if you guys will remind me of that. Then the custom built master section panel, which is this one, which is connected to a lot of different cables, so I need to be careful with this one. This is really like the nerve center of my studio. So, and doing this also feels like doing a brain surgery. And I know that some of you guys are asking the question, why are you doing this yourself and not letting other people do it? That's a good question. So let's also take out, because that isn't connected to anything. Let's take out the new interface, the Motu. And now it's actually a simple matter of taking everything apart. So removing every connector. And I try to also bring back the cables and remove the cables as far as I can. I've seen a lot of setups in different studios in which they remove the cables from the equipment, but they didn't remove them from the cable tree. And what they ended up with was like 4 times more cable in the studio than actually was needed. And that gives a mess over time. This is also another thing. This is the clocking cable, which clocked the whole setup. Working with this is a real critical thing. If you don't have the right cables, if you don't connect them on the right way, if you don't terminate them all, this is a terminator, the clocking won't work or isn't good enough, or it will actually affect your sound. This is well, not an old way of word clocking, but this is a pretty basic way of word clocking. My new system works over AVB and AVB clocking, which is literally connecting the Ethernet cable and it will work. It doesn't matter. So I'm actually very happy that I can take apart and pull away the old purple clocking cables. So that's disconnected, so I can safely remove them out of the rack. These IEC connectors or Euro cable connectors, I've decided to keep them hanging here. That as soon as I buy another Motu and another one and another interface and I need some power here, that I just have them available. And for the guys that are wondering what I'm doing with the old systems, well, they were never mine. They were included in the rent of the studio. And I'm giving them back to the guy who owns them, which is George. It's not that heavy. It's like I made this place too small to sit actually, so it's not the most comfortable position. So I've cleaned it. And now we have something where we can build upon. So the first thing is these stupid things. They are a pain in the ass to remove and put back in. But I need the Motu on the top position of the rack because it's the most accessible when it's there. Damn it. So I already have a pre-made jack to XLR cable. So screwing them into the patch panel, because that's easier than soldering the old one. The worst part of this situation is actually the soldering. And the most horrible about the soldering is, well, you know, I'm soldering a lot. Almost every single thing that needs soldering in my studio is done by me. But because it's connected to the cable tree of the rest of the studio, I need to solder it in this position. So it's a difficult position you're sitting in. And what I know from experience is if you're doing it in this position, you need to stand up every 2 connectors to stretch your legs and stretch your arms, because it's really stressing on your muscles. Yo!
Moet je dit eigenlijk niet filmen?
Dat ben ik aan het doen.
Waar staat die camera dan?
Hier.
Oh, je bent ook echt aan het
Ja,
filmen?
ik ben echt aan het filmen.
Oh, dan kom ik er even bij zitten.
Ja, dat is leuk. So we've got a visitor. It's Eric, who is supporting me mentally and physically.
Physically. Waar zit dat ding nou?
Daar, bovenin. Het is gewoon 1 HE bakje. Dat is een heel klein dingetje eigenlijk. Zo grappig, want dat ene dingetje doet dus hetzelfde als die berg met spullen die daar voorin liggen. Hoeveel kleiner dat is geworden, zeg maar, door de jaren heen.
Dus met alles hè.
Ja.
Leg je ook wel uit wat je aan het doen bent.
Wat? Ja. So this is my main panel, which I still need, by the way, to finish, because I'm still missing a lot of connectors here and here, but I never bother about it. But this is the master bus for the speakers, and this is the master bus of the console. These are the most important ones I need to have. And we have Spotify over AVB to the interface. Oh, it's very dark over there. Those red dots, that's the interface to the console. Which means that we now have a working master bus. And I'm going to spend like an hour more to also solder the last part, which are this DB25 connector, which I did solder myself. I can see this, but why did I do it so thoroughly? Why? It's a hell to disassemble, but yeah, let's do it, because then it's finished. And done! As you can see, I'm still having 6 more inputs and 2 more outputs. And I still need to put back in this panel, but that's not that big of a deal. It's a big mess on the floor, so I'm going to clean that up and then back to work as usual. And as expected, it is working, and I'm actually writing back a full console of stems and channels back into Pro Tools as my first run on the Motu. And as we can see over here, we can see it working. So that's cool. I've also been able to determine the exact amount of latency the Motu gives, because that's a very important thing to know. And it's 534 samples, which at a sample rate of 48 kilohertz should be something like 11 milliseconds, which is too much, but it's only for a short amount of time, and latency isn't something that's hurting my workflow. I can simply adjust it to match the latency. I can live with that for now, but in my new setup, the latency will be, well, the expected latency is under 1 millisecond. So that's acceptable for me. And with that being said, I want to end this video over here. This bit more stranger video. If you like this video, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up, a comment below, and if you really liked it, check out my Patreon campaign, of course, over here. Check out other videos over here. And for now, I want to say bye bye.